Hey, 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 we're all here today. There's a light mist falling outside.
Yeah.
Dogs, cats, elephants.
Farm animals.
God,
It's unbelievable
what was
out
that?
there.
Since I walked in.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
I've heard
It's a rough fall.
I've heard it. I've heard it all morning.
Thunder and lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Usually,
Oh.
right, you have it in January. Don't you have snow?
7
to 10
days.
Yeah.
It's supposed to
7
be.
to 10 days. Hey,
Not in
let
the
me-
10-day forecast, not at 50.
Hey, buddy, let me look.
Don't think so. Glad to have you along this morning.
No, maybe next Friday at night.
No.
It says right now it's going to be 36 at night. So that
That ain't going to do it.
yeah. So,
This is the weather machine is
that
showing.
Is that an old wives' tale then?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
You know what another one was about snow in the wintertime? If there was a circle around the moon,
Oh, the halo around
halo
the moon,
around
right?
the moon.
7 to 10 days,
yeah,
right?
Of winter. Now,
Down
I'll
here.
be
Old
honest
Farmer's
with you.
Almanac stuff.
I was
Yeah,
getting ready to
that's
say,
it.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know,
yeah.
did you grow up with that? I did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I mean, my mom and dad used to do garden and plant by the Old Farmer's Almanac. So, you know, we took that kind of to heart a little bit.
And of course, we gave away hundreds of those things every
We
year
used
at
to
the radio,
also.
at the radio station.
I still run it in Lincoln and Mooresville about 6:15 every morning. The Old Farmer's Almanac. The Old Farmer's Almanac report comes on. Yep, get a fresh one every day. It's I want to say it's like a minute feature, and then there's a minute spot. behind
Yeah.
it. But yeah.
It used to be back in the day. They come in the mail in cassettes
Yes.
for the whole week.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to play the cassettes.
And then there were CDs.
Yeah.
And now everything's online.
32 according to the Weather Channel next Friday night.
There you go.
Humidity?
No.
No.
47 high
Yeah.
on the 13th.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
32 low.
All right,
It's
I'm
gonna be a blizzard.
gonna ask you a question. Because I can't figure this out. The Bills Bengal game, and there's no update on Hamlin's condition,
Right.
other than a $2,500 GoFundMe page that he set up for toys for the Buffalo area is now over $4.5 million.
Yeah, it's in the Pittsburgh area.
Good.
It's in the Pittsburgh because that's where he's
Yeah,
from.
yeah, it's over
Okay.
$5 million.
Okay, last I saw yesterday
last-
was 4.5.
Last night it was over $5 million.
Good.
He does a toy drive and he does a clothing drive too in his native Pittsburgh area. He grew up in a town about the size of Maiden.
And you know, I
About
didn't
6,000
realize.
people.
You know, Tomlin said he had known him since he was 12 years old.
Yeah, I think he and
Are you
Tomlin's
serious?
son.
Yeah.
He and Tomlin's son know each other.
Oh,
They
my
played football
goodness.
together growing up.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Is
an
that
interesting story.
right?
Grew up in a bad part of town, McKees Rocks, and he ended up at Central Catholic. It's like the Charlotte Catholic of Pittsburgh. If
Okay.
you know what I mean.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
And they won the state championship 2015, I believe, 5 or 6 years ago. And on their defense, they had 9 of their 11 guys on their defensive team get Division I scholarships. Tells
Wow.
you
Holy cow.
tells you how good they were at bringing in talent.
Oh, yeah.
And
No,
I
they did.
think
They were-
6
they
of
were
them
just
went
get-
to FBS schools.
They were in the neighborhood, and they needed to get them out of the band and play football. That's what happened. They saw him walking down the hall, and they went and said, "Hey, you need to play football. Put that trumpet
He
down."
may be walking down the street and said, "Come on over here," because Central Catholic, where Dan Marino went to high school, which is in Oakland, Pennsylvania, which is right near University of Pittsburgh, not too far away. McKees Rocks is about 10 or 15 miles away. I guess they recruit him in.
Boys, that's a heck of a story.
Yeah,
I just saw
That's
Tomlin
something
had done a
that
little
was
interview. You know,
yeah.
uh,
Dabo was at his home. I read where Saban came. He got heavily recruited, and he had a little brother, like a 3-year-old brother at the time. He's 7 now, but he said, "I want to be here. I want to be here because I never had anybody growing up because I think his dad's in jail. I wanted to have somebody, and I wanted to be somebody special for a young person. So he stayed at Pitt, went to Pitt instead, so he could be around his little brother.
Wow.
awesome. That's a great story. Bad story on the other side. I saw an interview this morning, and I understand it a little bit more. And I had seen it in the overnight when it happened because I don't sleep. Sleep's overrated for some reason. I don't know.
All great CEOs don't sleep.
Brian Huss just said it's been reported he's breathing on his own at 50%. Still critical.
Got a tube down his throat.
Morning, Mikey. Morning, Milton. Richie. Well, we've got the gully washer here, Richie.
Yeah.
Richie's south of us, so he got it last night. We got it here.
He's got some lung injuries, some lung damage, but I haven't heard anything about his brain.
From oxygen, being without oxygen.
Yeah.
I was more concerned about brain damage.
Yeah, me too.
But,
So have they said anything about that yet? Have they released any
they're
info
not
on
really
that?
telling a whole
Well, I
lot,
know
which
it's
concerns
real quiet.
me a lot.
Yeah, I know it's really quiet. It's almost like they want to make sure that they know before they put anything out because of how many people saw this and how many people have been impacted by it. You know, what's amazing is for the first time in a while in the NFL and pro sports, we saw everybody come together.
Yeah.
You know, there's none of this, you know, this stuff over here, this over here, or whatever. It was people came together.
Yep.
And I think that may be something as tragic as, you know, that this is and could be, and, you know, hopefully it'll be okay, that people can kind of take, you know, heart of this and say, okay, look, when it all comes down to it, where's the humanity in all this?
Yeah.
We really need to try to start getting back to this. This stuff's been going on for a while. You know, there's reasons things happen, but, you know, the issues need to be addressed, and we need to go ahead and start healing again. This you know, this could be that moment, you know, through this unfortunate incident.
Yeah.
Here's my question, okay? Goodell came out and said game will not be played this week, will not resume this week. Well, I don't see them pushing the whole playoff picture back a week. So
Just kick it out.
They're just going to make a decision. And the best thing was somebody said, okay, it's a tie. We have ties in the NFL anyway.
It's a do not play. That way, it, you know, what is. They're not going to do that, but what is on the record. You didn't finish the game. You didn't play it. It is nothing. Okay? You couldn't play it, so therefore just not there. And then you just take the percentages, you know, where you finish in the league. You know what I'm saying, in your division, based off that.
You don't want to form a committee and have them sit down?
I'm going to lose my mind if they do that. Now, I'll tell you, Lord have mercy, God. I know, I'm trying. I'm really trying. But, you know, all kidding aside, Goodell, you know, does a good job about stepping up and making decisions and saying, I'm the guy. Love him, hate him, whatever, at least you know who you're going to. At least, you know, well, I met with several people, and we all decided that it wasn't, no. I met with people, they gave me their input, and this is what I've decided to do. It's very simple.
You know,
but very tough.
I forgot to tell you this yesterday. I met with my newspaper staff on Monday. We need to go over a couple things. And probably the second time we've met together, but I was asking questions about, you know.
You're the Ben Bradley of the Lincoln Times.
I guess, whoever that is.
Ben Bradley, he was the editor for the Washington Post during Watergate.
We're just right below the Washington Post. Anyway, when we sit down, you know, I told him, I said, you know, I always want input. I like the people that work for me, work with me. We want to sit down. I said, but let me make one thing perfectly clear. We have ideas as a democracy. Decisions are made as a dictatorship. I listen, but I'll make the final call because I'm the only one that's going to be able. I'm the only one that has to address it. I'm the only one that has to be responsible.
Well, yeah, and they should know that they have input, but you have to make decisions.
I want them to know that their voices are heard.
Absolutely.
But we will discuss, and then I don't have any problem explaining my decision. You know, but you know, I just feel like that's the way you run things. That's the way you do things.
Do you remember? I mean, obviously,
get people to buy in,
and you do that. But do you remember Herman Boone? You know, in the movie, Remember the Titans, he said, "Man, you know, this is a dictatorship. I am the law." But yet, he still had a couple of captains and, you know, guys.
He went to his key people,
but he conversed with every kid. He said, you know, he told Louis Lassick, you know, the big guy. Louis said, "I'm not going to college." He said, "Bring your test scores in the week, and we'll go over them." And he ended up going to school. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to. I always do that with my players, you know, as well. I said, "Look, this is a dictatorship. You know, you know, I will listen to you, and I value your input. But in the end, I'm going to make the decision."
And
bottom line.
And there are times when I will listen to what you say, and, you know, I didn't think about it that way. That's really not a bad way to go.
No, absolutely.
I don't have to be credited with everything that's done. And I'm not one of those. I'm not one of those that you have to plant a seed and then let it become my idea when it was your idea, I have no problem. That's a good call. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I think when going back, being younger, things like that, a lot of times you do
That was a
that.
long time ago.
Well, no, what I'm saying is because you're still immature, and I think one thing that we forget is, especially with kids and even young adults, is they have to be immature before they can be mature. They have to make mistakes.
You have to understand what immaturity is.
Right, and have to be called out on things, which, I was quite a bit as a, young man. I mean, it was.
Yes.
Well, I mean, and that's okay.
Yes.
I mean, that's that way you learn and you get better.
Yes.
That's the whole idea, is to get it right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Put the ego, do the best you can do to put the ego out the door.
So what do you think that the commissioner's going to do?
Well, I don't know. To me, I think from I think he'll talk to both head coaches, and I think both head coaches will say, look, that's the least of our worries. Whatever you want to do, we know that the league has to go on. We're okay with that. Our concerns are here. This is something we didn't foresee. This is something we can't fix.
Yeah.
So, and I think the reason he's holding off making a decision is to wait till there's some kind of real update on the kid, so that it doesn't overshadow the real concern or what's going on with his health. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I really think that's why there's not been anything done or decided to this point, because right now that's not what we want to forethought of people's minds and what they're thinking about. Let's all concentrate on what's going on with him. So, but they're going to have to do something because the weekend's going to be here. If you look at the schedule, that's still the only game. The Pittsburgh game. I mean the Bills game. Let me see. Let me go back here.
Bills play the Patriots this week.
Yeah.
Both teams need to win. I mean, both teams. Patriots lose, they get knocked out of the playoffs.
They're done.
Yeah.
This is,
that's a big game.
I'm sorry, it's the time. Baltimore and Cincinnati has not been announced on time, and I don't know why that is. Cleveland plays Pittsburgh.
Yeah, 1 o'clock.
Do you see them possibly moving the game time, maybe even to Monday night, instead of being played on Sunday, just to give
no, because Buffalo's got to play. Buffalo's got to play at 1 o'clock on
No,
Sunday.
I mean the game coming up this week. Could you see them moving the game?
Which game?
The one they're supposed to be playing this Sunday against the
no.
I mean, Cincinnati.
No, they've got to play so they can get seeding for the wild card weekend.
No, I don't mean. I'm sorry. I'm just talking about changing the time, maybe to an extra day later or whatever, just to give everybody a chance to.
Do you play the
regrouped.
NFC wild card games in 2 weeks, and have the AFC and have the Buffalo Cincinnati game, and you push back?
Then you get everything out of kilter, and you've got extra weeks off. And
No, that's
stuff
a good point, though. I mean, that
you might have some teams that have 2 weeks off.
That's right.
The only thing that I think that they could do that would be fair across the board, and this is what I said, I don't think it happens, is they push everything out a week.
They won't because of TV.
They can't do that.
Yeah.
Then you move to Super Bowl a week.
Yeah,
you can't
or,
do that.
They haven't done that in 20 years.
That's right. That's right. Or you play the Super Bowl the next week instead of having 2 weeks, and they
which I love.
Which they won't do that because
they haven't done it in 20 years.
And you know
the
the biggest reason they do 2 weeks.
It was media, right? What?
Travel logistics for the players' families.
Okay.
And just travel logistics.
Yes,
I'm guessing
okay.
for everything.
Well,
Just
cool.
because
That's cool.
they want the players to be able to have a week to take care of family matters.
Absolutely.
So they've got a week to concentrate on the game. That's what I've been told.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
That was from the official Marty
That makes
Herney,
sense.
Okay.
my
Well,
close
that makes
personal
sense.
friend. Yeah, that's why they do that. Richie said the wind just picked up here and he thought he saw the Wicked Witch fly by. Did she look anything like my first wife?
Whoa.
I did say that out loud. We'll take a break on that.
Handling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com. Times Convenience Stores are more than convenient. They're your neighborhood store, your store. With locations in Lincoln, Catawba, Gaston, Iredell, and Mecklenburg counties, there's one near you. Times Convenience Stores have the right items at the right price, from snacks, cold drinks, and light meals from the grill, and there's always a special to save you time and money. Times has what you need. Times Convenience Stores, there's one near you. Regardless of where you're going, there's one on your way. Remember, there's always time to stop by Times. Have you thought about when you would like to retire? One of your major assets is planning for retirement is time, and you lose a little of it each day. The longer you wait to start accumulating capital for retirement, the harder it's going to be. How should you plan for retirement? Start by calculating approximately how much capital you will need at retirement, then estimate how much you will have to put away each year. Finally, carefully choose the investments in which you will invest. Stifel Nicholas can assist you. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC, and the New York Stock Exchange. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
In the best of times, no one is more deserving of every opportunity, encouragement, and support than the youth in our communities. Parents, teachers, coaches, and sponsors struggle to stretch their budgets to continue help. Communities need a team effort. Times Oil Corporation, a longtime member of the community, established the Times Educational Alliance Mission, or Team Foundation. Since 2011, over $125,000 in grants have been donated in the community. Times Oil and the Team Foundation are proud to be community partners.
I'm doing a few upgrades here on the studio. You see,
Incredible.
I've got a boom mic here.
Yeah.
Got another one on order,
Love it.
and
Love it.
I've ordered some sleeker.
Oh.
Some sleeker. I'd like to have the kind like Cal heard them use that
Yep.
are, they call them TV mics, the low profile that come out.
Yeah.
They're proud of those. They're really proud of
Oh,
those.
they
How
are.
about, how about
yeah.
a board here where you could just look down and there's this, instead of looking at the screen,
Yeah.
you have it right here look in front of you.
You know,
that's what we'll do.
We've had some.
That's a great. No, seriously, Lane.
But
That's what we'll do.
here's the problem.
Investment into
Here's the
CEO.
problem.
That's
Here's
good.
the problem. Those are so small. I'll take my big
I
boy
know.
here so I
I
can see.
like
Well,
it
I'll
too.
get you one and me one, and we'll set them.
Listen
here.
to
How's
it.
that?
Yeah.
Now that I got my glasses and my prescription
See, I can't
fixed,
see it.
I could see the screen.
I can never see what Laney will read it. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
No. That's the way it is. Sorry.
Too many days.
So I was
in the
watching.
sun.
You have something to get into?
Absolutely not. This is all about you because this
No,
is a Wednesday and you're not here. Miss Kay didn't like my comment, but you don't know my wife, Miss Kay. My ex-wife.
Ooh.
Love this one. I think everybody ought to have two because you really appreciate the second. I'm just saying.
Well, I introduced Mandy as my first wife.
Tim Biggerstaff used to introduce people. Excuse me, but are you my future ex-wife?
That's a good line.
That's incredible.
And then one that he was married to, she came in the press box one time, and we all went to school together, and they were still friends. She had remarried. And he was like, hey, wasn't I married to you one time?
Oh,
and
God.
she's like, would you leave me alone? Okay, now.
So I heard you guys talking and discussing yesterday about college football and the four-team playoff. And I start writing some things down, and I said, let's come up with a better system. How about the 12-team playoff? You have a 24-team or 24 colleges conference division league, 24-team league broken off into 4 conferences, 6 teams per each conference. And I got the 24 teams on the top 24 revenue-producing schools. Alabama's number 1, Utah's 24, in between, Clemson's 20, for instance. But I broke them down into regions. So you have 4 6-team divisions. Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Auburn, LSU, Tennessee's in one.
Ooh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah. Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Florida State, Clemson, and TCU would be another.
Ooh.
Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Michigan State, and Oregon, Washington, Nebraska, Southern Cal, Utah, and Iowa. Those 4. Okay, so you play everybody within your division.
Well, I didn't hear UCLA or Southern Cal.
They're not in the top 24 revenue-producing schools.
Fantastic. Keep
USC
going.
is,
fantastic.
but UCLA's not.
Fantastic.
That's where I got it from.
Okay.
So the top, you play everybody within your division. That give you 5 games. You finish first or second. You play the first or second place teams in the other 3 divisions. That gives you 11 games. And if you want to add another game, you can add another game against a rival. Or
Okay, so
like
you don't know who the backside of your schedule is till you get through the first side of your schedule. Is that
Well,
what
I
you're
mean,
saying?
you play everybody. Like, for instance, well, I guess you have to play. The first year is going to be interesting, but if you finish first or second, you play everybody that finishes first or second in the other divisions.
the previous year.
The previous
I
year.
got you. Okay.
Then if you finish third or fourth, do the same thing. You play the third and fourth place teams. It's like an
Kinda
NFL schedule.
Just like, okay.
Yeah, and then if you finish at the bottom, 5th or 6th, you play the 5 and 6 teams in all the other divisions. And that comes out to 11 games. And if you want to add a 12th game, you can. If not, then
Sure.
rock on. Have a week off.
I mentioned this yesterday.
Then
too.
1 plays 12, 2 plays 11, or however you want to do it. 3 seeds get buys.
Okay, so I mentioned this yesterday, and I wish I could credit who said this and who came up with this, but it was one of the Talking Head programs that they would like to see, pick a number, whatever it is, 60 teams, 40 teams, whatever it is. You have to earn your way into that each year. If you finished outside the top 40 this year, whoever finished in number 40, if you were 40 last year and this year you're out, whoever finishes in that top 40 the next year are the only ones that can compete for a championship. You have to earn your way in every year instead of Purdue and Vanderbilt and Duke and Wake. You have to earn your way in, and this pool that you're going to pull from shifts and moves because you're in it this year, like, for example, I showed you yesterday based on the FPI. Louisville was in the top 25 in FPI based on everything. I like numbers because numbers don't lie.
Well, yeah. I mean, top reducing revenue schools.
Well, that would be good for the TV markets. I'm more about what did you do on the field.
But if you look at, you saw that I gave you the 24 teams.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that.
But you leave out some that are either rivals. You leave out in the ACC. You leave out Carolina.
Uh-oh, Bob said stop. Another money-driven solution.
No, it's not. Well, it can be, but it
really could.
It makes a lot of sense. It's
All right.
the NFL model.
Okay,
is what
hold
it
on
is.
one second. Hold on one second. All right, Richie, listen closely. Morning, Lincoln. Go those teams one more time slowly. Richie didn't get them all.
You break them off into divisions or just the top 24?
Divisions, just like you had them.
Excuse me. Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Auburn, LSU, Tennessee.
God, I love that right there. That's a nice little nut right there.
And the other division would be Oklahoma, Texas, Texas A&M, Florida State, Clemson, and TCU. The next division is Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, and Michigan State.
I like that too.
And the last one, I had one school that I had to figure out where to put them at, but it's Oregon, Washington, Nebraska, Southern Cal, Utah, and then Iowa. Iowa's the school.
Okay.
I didn't know where to put them at, but they were in the top 24.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They were 21st ranked in terms of
revenue
generated.
Then that division ranking that you've got is based geographically to some extent.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The only thing that just from an old school standpoint, and I don't know how you would shift it around, I would love to have seen Nebraska in that Oklahoma, Texas A&M chunk.
Well, for instance, if Nebraska finishes first or second, they would play, and say Texas and Oklahoma finishes first or second in their division. They'd play each other.
Richie said, do it like they do in the European Soccer League. If you finish in the bottom 2 or 3, you move down. If you finish in the top other division, you move up. See, the other thing that I would like to see, and especially in basketball, did you see somebody's kicking around again going to 90 teams in March Madness?
That's money driven.
Yes.
Obviously.
But if I'm going to do that, I want to take if I'm going to do that, I don't want it over 64 in the actual tournament, but get rid of these conference tournaments, take the top 32 teams, and they become automatically in, and then have the other 32 play in. Have a play-in tournament instead of the winner of the Southern Conference Championship gets an automatic bid into the dance. No, you get a bid into if you're not in the top 32 RPI, you get in the play-in round. Gives you an opportunity to earn your way in. I would much rather see an extra weekend playing in to get into the dance than I would conference championships. Conference championships in basketball, conference championships in football. Nobody wants to see that.
Well, it makes it what they're trying to do is make those games relevant for money purposes, right, and excitement and generate interest. There's so much confusion between what to do, because in high school sports, you have a tournament champion, they automatically take the second seed, but they don't take the first seed, right, or be the only one to get to go. And in college basketball, you can finish dead last in your league, or in college baseball, and you win your conference tournament, and all of a sudden you get to go to a regional, or in baseball you go to regional, and then or you go to the tournament, automatic qualifier. Which, it does make excitement, but then it kicks out a team like Wake Forest that plays in arguably, the toughest league, in the country. And there's just a lot of there's a lot of inadequacies and a lot of inconsistencies in this. And I guess there's no perfect system. But what Juju's saying, that would
all right,
work.
Let me give you this. Bob said you're basing on the top 24 revenue-producing schools.
Yeah.
Richie was surprised that Nebraska and Utah was in there.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah, Utah's 24.
Now
Nebraska is
should be
19.
Yeah.
Listen to this list, okay? Listen to the similarities here. I'm going to give you the final football power index from ESPN, okay, of the top 24.
Okay.
Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan. Well, now wait a minute, you're only separating those two very, very small, but just work with me here. Michigan, Tennessee, Texas, Penn State, Utah, Clemson, LSU,
This is crazy.
TCU, Florida State. Here comes a wild card right here. Kansas State.
Okay. That's fine.
Oregon, Southern Cal, Mississippi State, another wild card, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Oregon State, Washington, Minnesota. Here's the surprise: Louisville, 22. Oklahoma,
That is surprising.
Oklahoma, and Illinois. Okay, that's the top 24 in FPI.
There may be 3 or 4 that Juju on his list that weren't on that. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
Nebraska's one of them.
No, I'm just
but
saying
that's
there
because
may
the
be-
program's in
but
disarray.
I'm just saying there may be
Iowa's
3
not
or
on there
4.
either, are they?
No.
No. And here's some. All right, I'll give you the ones that aren't on there. Wisconsin was number 29.
Okay, they're 15th in revenue.
Iowa's number 33.
They're
Florida
20.
was
Okay.
number 34.
Florida is 6th in revenue.
A&M
Incredible.
A&M is 35,
A&M is 7th in revenue.
and Auburn is 43rd.
Auburn is 8th in revenue.
Oh, yeah.
Michigan State is 46,
Michigan State is 16th in revenue.
and I think that covers all of them that was on your list, I believe.
But
Oh, I'm sorry. Nebraska is 70th.
Nebraska is 70th.
In
They're
FPI.
19th. They're right ahead of
Yeah.
Clemson. Clemson was 20th in terms of revenue generated.
So what's going to happen, like the downside of doing this is that smaller college football will go away. Because Western Carolina cannot go and play Alabama.
Or Mercer go play
Or
Alabama.
Mercer.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And get that. But that is how these other teams are funded.
So how do we fix that?
Well, I think at the beginning of the year, you let them play non-conference games to get warmed up and get things going and allow them to play some of these other teams. And then they do what he's doing, what Juju's talking about.
Mikey said breathe for.
Oh, my God.
Bob
I'm
said
trying,
huge alumni bases for those revenue
Yeah,
producers.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about somebody like Florida.
And you would have a lot of they'd be now conference games. I mean, imagine if you have some of these schools besides, I said by region, but then they play cross division schools.
Yeah.
They
don't have some of the soft people in their schedule like a Vanderbilt or like a Wake
I've
or
said
something
that,
like that.
I've said that all along.
But see, I think those schools will die too.
But not
a
if
football
but
standpoint,
not
is
if
that-
they're
yeah.
in a division that they can play for their own national championship. That's what's wrong now. Like I told you, the Group 5 has nothing to play for except Smurf Turf in Boise, Idaho in December.
Right. No, that's a good point. But what
Or
I'm saying is,
Fenway or
like,
New York.
when Alabama comes to town or Tennessee comes to town or Clemson, Georgia, any of those go away and play, it is probably fair at the very least to say that the revenue for all sports is covered for the year in that game or close to it.
Yeah.
Okay? And so that – now, I'm not playing devil's advocate. I'm just saying that how do you work around losing all of the other teams? Because if there's money's not – you can pass out money all you want, but when there's not revenue share,
Can I make a suggestion?
things will die.
I think the revenue that would be generated from this type of setup would be so much larger, and so that you didn't starve the other programs.
Then they control the other programs.
There needs to be a percentage of
Yeah.
that revenue needs to be earmarked
Sure.
and split.
Here, we're helping you. We're giving you this, but we're not going to let you get any better than what we're going to. It's kind of like, the government educating kids, educating people. They're never going to educate a public, all right? I'm going way out on a limb on this, but I'm going to say it anyway, that will look into the things that are going on to possibly hold it accountable.
Do you like Western going to Alabama?
Yes, very much. Because I've been on both sides of that. When I coached at UNC Asheville, we went and played Georgia in baseball. They gave us like 50 dozen baseballs, 30 bats.
Yeah, I get
a
all
ton
that,
of
but
cleats.
from
they paid for everything. They paid us to come down there. They paid for all our travel. And what it did was it helped our kids, our players that were Division I players, okay, playing there. It helped them have that, not only that experience, but to get the program through. And we did like 5. We went and played Tennessee. They did the same thing. And we beat South Carolina. It was
Football and baseball is a heck of a lot different, though.
It is.
But I'm saying from a football standpoint, if I'm a fan and I bought season tickets, okay,
Yeah.
I don't want one of my tickets to be South Carolina State. I don't want to see South Carolina State and Clemson play.
Well, Well, it
Okay.
depends
Or
on what kind of
Furman and
fan.
Clemson.
Well, but
Because it's always going to be a home game at Clemson.
It depends on what kind of fan you are. Because the same, you can apply the same logic that you're using, which is right, to high school football. Right? You're going to have less attendance when, a big school, like a really powerful local school plays maybe a school that's not doing so well. But then again, it could be some form of rivalry, too, that has been conjured up. Even though that other team's not very good, that people still come out. And you still have revenue that helps the other sports and the overall student athlete and the student experience at the school. So there's a lot more than just, getting to the final playoff number. You know what I'm saying? In that whole thing, because if they don't do this, all these universities and colleges that aren't participating in the whole will eventually start one by one going away. Look at the first thing that happened as soon as COVID hit. Oh, we're cutting men's track out.
Yeah, but
we're cutting baseball
okay,
out.
but I'm not.
We're cutting this out.
Do you think there are too many schools playing sports?
But wait a minute. No, but here's the deal. And I'm not going to go too far on this, even though I want to. There were a lot of schools that used that as an excuse because they had overstepped and overcommitted and couldn't fund them once they started, and this gave them an easy out where nobody would get mad.
Completely agree.
That's the part that I didn't like
prudence,
about it.
But and being frugal, right? But there's so. I guess my point is your theory would work. I think the issue is how do we make sure there's not a domino effect on the backside with, even some of the Division I teams that weren't named that are relevant, like UCLA and some of those. Well, I think you do non-conference games and give them an opportunity to earn their way into a local region. That you've
Not
done.
every year though. I think maybe after 2 or 3 or 4 years.
Sure,
I don't know if
just have a run and
TV
score.
people would go for that.
Redoing the conferences.
Okay.
Yeah.
These
See,
are the
that's
ones
what
that
I
are
was
gonna get
saying.
in.
That's
but not every year.
yes.
right.
That's too much instability. I would say
Way
maybe
too
after,
much.
it would be like a realignment.
Yeah, sure.
Like
3 or
high
4
school.
Yeah.
And then recruiting, but see, then you got recruiting issues. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying there's a lot of dynamics to go into this. But there's got to be a better solution than the number 3 team getting beat by the number 9 team that the number 5 team is killing in the bowl game.
Well, I
There's
still,
got to be
I
a better
still,
solution
I
than
still
We only
think
got to
there's.
do this 1 or 2 more years.
Yeah, I
But then
still.
we're gonna, you and I and Laney, good Lord willing, are going to be raising Cain about the new way too.
I'll give it a really good chance. I'm gonna give it the old school try.
Well, I mean,
Think
and then
it
when you
gets
get to
better.
the other divisions and you have the playoffs, FCS or
Yeah.
whatever, you have the schools that are state-supported schools that generate a lot more revenue winning championships.
Yep.
You don't have the private schools doing very well in football. Now, in other
That's
sports,
right.
they
That's
do.
right.
And you know what's bad?
point.
And there's a big separation.
And you know
there.
what's bad?
point.
Here's the bad part. On the high school level, it's opposite. The private schools are taking the public schools to the cleaners because
Yeah.
because they control and how they do things. Because there's more money in the private schools than there are in the public
Well,
schools.
the first thing
and on the high
I
school
would
level.
do if they ever said, "For you're in charge of this,"
You're in charge.
Okay, so I'm the High School Athletic Association president. First thing I do is I get with all the, state superintendents, state-supported schools, and say, okay, look, this is going to be you're only playing state-supported schools. That's it. We're going to go to 6 classifications, and then we're going to have an elite. What we mean by that is a very large population. We're going to have the top 24 teams in that in the state. And then we're also going to have the bottom, the smallest 24 in the state, okay, that'll compete on these 2 ends. Then we're going to have 6 in between here. That way there's not so much of, 1,300 here at this, school and 900 here, all right? It's a little bit closer, so than 200 or 300, range across the board. And I would not allow them to play private schools, even in non-conference.
I agree.
I would not. Now, I'm not against private schools or even charter schools. I want the market to be open. You go where you feel like you need to go. But when we start skewing things and
But they had to be segmented because they're not exactly the same. And the biggest reason they had to be segmented because they're not under the same LEA.
You talk who is not?
Charters and privates and publics. They're not.
They have to be segmented because
That's
the
correct.
rules are different.
That's correct.
Kids from Maiden can go play at Lincoln Charter, all right, and it'd be fine, and they get to play immediately. But if a kid from Maiden wants to go to Hickory a kid from Maiden wants to go to St. Stephen's but doesn't move.
Mhm.
Then,
No, I agree.
Then,
They got to sit out
they gotta sit out.
365 days.
My niece and nephew transferred from Maiden to Bandy's like 3 or 4 years ago, and Kinley, the girl, was arguably one of the top athletes at Maiden. They live out on East Maiden Road, and Easton, the older one, they wanted to go into welding. Well, they had those classes in FFA out at Bandy's. Well, for logistics reasons and parents, they wanted kids to go to the same place. They would not give them a release to play sports. Now, Easton ended up not playing baseball and just getting into, that kind of thing. But Kinley was a softball and volleyball player and all these things.
Now, you can get waivers under extenuating circumstances.
You can, but it's up to just whatever they feel like doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they say, well, this
What's
is the
my
rule.
word? What's
but
my word?
Inconsistency.
Yeah.
But
No,
Juju, this is it. But the rules are rules, but everything is based on the individual situation. So there's really no rules.
Right.
That's
If
the
everything's
problem I
going
have
to
with
be
all this.
evaluated,
Yeah. And then if somebody does go by the rules, then, well, that's not their intent, so they can't do that. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible the stuff that I've seen in the public school system.
Mm-hmm.
Not just locally, which has been incredible, but also around the state.
it's all out of control.
It's because you have supposedly a governing body that is a nonprofit that's got over $40 million sitting in a fund, an endowment fund, okay, public money, okay, that is handing down mandates and fines, or used to be, and all this stuff, acquiring money to that, trying to hold accountability, but yet letting everything else go underneath the rug on the private schools and things like that and let them get in.
Hold that thought, because I got a question for you. We're going to take a break. We come back.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver, or visit MooneyInsurance.com. Times convenience stores are more than convenient. They're your neighborhood store, your store. With locations in Lincoln, Catawba, Gaston, Iredell, and Mecklenburg counties, there's one near you. Times convenience stores have the right items at the right price, from snacks, cold drinks, and light meals from the grill, and there's always a special to save you time and money. Times has what you need. Times convenience stores, there's one near you. Regardless of where you're going, there's one on your way. Remember, there's always time to stop by Times. Have you thought about when you would like to retire? One of your major assets is planning for retirement is time, and you lose a little of it each day. The longer you wait to start accumulating capital for retirement, the harder it's going to be. How should you plan for retirement? Start by calculating approximately how much capital you will need at retirement, then estimate how much you will have to put away each year. Finally, carefully choose the investments in which you will invest. Stifel Nicholas can assist you. Call Ford Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC, and the New York Stock Exchange. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
In the best of times, no one is more deserving of every opportunity, encouragement, and support than the youth in our communities. Parents, teachers, coaches, and sponsors struggle to stretch their budgets to continue help. Communities need a team effort. Times Oil Corporation, a longtime member of the community, established the Times Educational Alliance Mission, or Team Foundation. Since 2011, over $125,000 in grants have been donated in the community. Times Oil and the Team Foundation are proud to be community partners.
Yeah, welcome back. All right, I've got my question. I didn't forget my question. I had to write it down because I'm old and feeble. But
God.
It stopped raining yet? Has the sun come
There's
up yet?
3 dogs.
no.
3
Okay.
dogs. Cat.
All right.
Cat.
All right. Short answer questions here. Okay? Short answer questions. The problem with your idea, okay, is the same problem that we have inside college. And it's the reason, whether we like it or we don't, that we don't have the issue in the NFL. You have 32 teams, 32 owners, but they got to do what Goodell says because they elected him to be in charge.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sure.
He takes the slings and arrows.
That's correct.
Absolutely.
So he decided. Now, the reason it doesn't work in college with the NCAA and the reason it doesn't work on the high school level, you've got an organization that basically has no power. And I say that because in college, the reason it's taken so long with the playoffs and all this other stuff, the presidents refuse to give up any kind of control and let a central body tell them what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay? So you're never going to get this.
It's a great example.
Okay.
It happened locally, too.
On the high school level, the reason you've got a high school a high school athletic association that has virtually no power because the LEAs make the final
Well, that's
call.
what happened. I mean,
Okay?
the High School Athletic Association emailed, a local LEA, okay, and said, reviewed a student's thing, that moved to another area, moved and all this stuff. And according to the the High School Athletic Association guidelines, this player was eligible. But the local LEA responded, okay, please do not email me anymore. This is a local situation, and we will make the determination.
Then they don't need to be in. They don't need to be in the association.
But I don't disagree with that. But at the
Just
same
play your
time,
games inside the county.
Yeah, but at the same time, how do you, how is that? How are things, across the board, on these things? See, people are going to. We're in a navigation world. It's kind of like the college football thing about paying players. Navigation's always happened. My brothers. My mom and dad lived in Mountain View, all right, and my brothers transferred to Maiden after a year after I was here, okay? I understand that, okay? I get it, all right? People are going to move. Things are going to happen. People want to play and have experiences with certain people. And when people say, yeah, but your education's the most important thing. I want to slap their head. It may be the most important thing to you, but the overall experience and the holistic approach of educating the child is the most important
Social
thing.
environment, everything
Right,
else.
but
You're learning more than just books and
It
numbers.
is more detrimental to be with a terrible coach, all right, from a psychological standpoint of a sport that you enjoy playing personally and don't want to stop playing because you may not agree or like who's coaching it. It is more psychologically damaging to be not really mistreated, but not have a holistic experience of that than to have a bad English teacher.
But here's the problem.
It's worse.
Here's the problem.
It's worse.
This is what's not going to happen. Nobody wants to give up control. Okay?
Well, in the NFL,
and here's the thing with the private schools and the charter schools. Okay? I agree, Lincoln. Charter schools are not private. They run off of, and I'll say this too, charter schools run much more efficiently than public schools do with less money. And nobody can explain that to me, okay? Nobody can explain it. And I'm not kicking public schools. I'm just stating a fact. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. But the problem is nobody would have I wouldn't have a problem with charter schools and private schools being part of what we do if the public schools had the same rules when it came to athletes and where you could get them and transfers and open doors that nothing's off the table where a kid can come and play, public schools wouldn't have as much problem with it because now we're all on the same playing field. But that's not going to happen because the LEAs are going to make the decisions.
Yeah,
I've
but
told
the
you this
LEAs,
before.
but they don't trust each other either.
I know that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's a good
That's
point.
why that's why I just play inside your county so you can control everything. And then let them experience the real world when they get out of your little control
Or in
environment.
this situation inside your school system, because we have 3 in this county.
Well, that don't
No,
even get me started there.
I'm not, what I'm saying
That's
is
the biggest waste of pissing away money that there is.
Difference. You know what I'm saying?
I
to
know.
What you're saying. I just want to
But they
point
still
that
follow
out.
each other.
100%, but they do have different rules. For example, a kid from Maiden transferred to Hickory last year and was deemed eligible immediately because maybe of a home situation, okay? Then that kid decides to move out of Hickory, all right, and enrolls in Newton Conover before school starts. Well, Newton says, nah, he's not going to be allowed to play here because this thing is not going to. So he comes to Maiden. Initially, no, you can't play, da-da-da-da. A week later, he's playing. Now, how in the world do my niece and nephew, who for logistics reasons that live closer to Bandy's, and the older one going there to Wales, but there
I
are.
understand.
But
no, there's
they
not.
are.
If you have situations that become exceptions, if there's exceptions, there's no rules.
That's what, there are exceptions.
It's that simple. If there's exception, there's no
Now,
rules.
again, I'm not sitting there, casting stuff. What I'm saying is there a way that this can be taken care of instead of all this chaos? Because, with the inconsistencies, chaos follows. Is there a way to do this a little better? And the answer is yes. You either hardline it or you open it up and don't have any rules.
Well,
right?
in Mecklenburg County, that's kind of the way it is. I think Mecklenburg County, you kind of go where you want to.
Well, of course, because everybody lives within a navigatable area. But if you go to Robbinsville, again, out there pretty good, right? They, and then Andrews and Murphy are, a few miles away, or Swain. It's what people say is, well, it's not fair because they can't. Listen,
Rosman.
Great example, Brevard. Having lived up in that area, Avery County, and coached, all throughout Asheville and all that as well, I have had a chance to see this as well as on the eastern part of the state. And the two extremes of the state, where there's smaller population, is not really impacted as much as where there are larger pockets. And obviously where there's more people, there's more issues, there's more individual circumstance because there's just more things happening. But the bottom line is, if you're going to have an association that you are part of, you have to have a set of rules regardless, or you open it up and pretty much don't have any rules, and the less rules you have, the better off you might be.
The only thing that I see that the association does that, quote-unquote, benefits the members is – they get officials and they train officials. They organize tournaments like playoffs, that type thing. But they really don't have any type of guidance, they don't have any control over eligibility. The state, I guess can the state make a player ineligible for the playoffs and the LEA say, no, he's eligible? But if you're crossing county lines, then that's where it gets muddy.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be fixed. It's never going to be fixed.
And again, it sounds like, and I don't want to, because this not only goes on locally, but in, many areas of our state.
Oh, yes.
So I'm not sitting here killing the
And I'm sure it's the same thing in every state.
This is where we live, and I'm using these examples.
I guess my question would be, is there any state where the state organization, the state association, really has power?
South Carolina.
LEAs don't control?
They do, but I say they do. It's almost a shared thing, and the reason that there's not as much chaos down there, from what I understand, and it would be great to bring somebody like a Tommy Knox.
Cole Setzer just said the same thing, South Carolina.
Yeah, well, Cole's right. My brother Grant lived down there for a while. Ashley taught in the system down there. His wife. Things are a little different because, there's not quite as many people. Things are a little more spread out, so there's not as much issues and chaos with the number of problems, and that's created from the number of problems by the number of people, individual circumstances. And they pretty much have an upper, an upper and a lower South Carolina, the way they do things, but they also have a large division, where only the
Super
the top,
16 or
right,
something
the
like
top
that used to be
teams
called.
play. And that helps.
Brandon said Florida's that way too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Ashley's dad, Grant's wife's dad, Fred, he coached down at a high school in Fort Myers, which is one of the top biggest ones, whatever, down there. And he said that things just, were by the book. Kids lived here, they lived there, they went here, they went there, but when it came, time for eligibility, time for playoffs, and everything, that was all settled before the season started, and then you went and played. And you played. And he said those high school, all these guys that are in the NFL, come out of that. Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know. Whatever.
Richie said they got rid of the Big 16 in South Carolina because he lives down in Greenwood. He said they now have 5 divisions.
Okay.
But it used to be the Big 16.
Right.
And, boys, they were some powerhouses in that Big 16. Those were –
yeah, Dorman, Rock Hill.
Irmo.
Yeah, Irmo.
Yeah,
Northwest.
Airport.
South Point.
Burns.
South Point with an E.
Yeah. It's always South
with
Point.
a Y. Yep.
South Point with an E. Yeah. But we can't solve it, okay? That's a given. We can't solve it. But it all comes back to there has to be a willingness by everybody involved, just like with this college football thing. There has to be a willingness by everybody involved. We want to make it better, and we want to make it the best it can be for everybody involved instead of kiss my tail, I'll take my ball and go home. I don't have to play with you.
I got a question for Juju on his analysis that he did and laying it out. How do you get to a national champion based on your bracket? Like how? I know you got it broke down, but how do you get to that?
Top 3 teams in each division.
Okay.
You have 12.
That's your 12.
12,
Okay.
and then you work out how you want to do it, if you want to have buys or whatever.
Right, yeah. So you have buys with maybe the top
4.
Top 4
Had to
or
be
top
top 4.
2. Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
And honest to God,
and I said this when we were
I
off
sat
the
down
air.
with a napkin and some scratch paper while you guys were talking yesterday.
And I said that,
It's
well,
really
me and
good.
Kiever did that one time.
It's really good.
We struggled to find – we said, and I told you this yesterday, we struggled to find 40 teams. We said, okay, let's take 4 conferences with 10 teams in each division. That'd be 9 conference games. Can you name me 40 teams that can compete for a national championship year in, year out? You can't. Even those – and I said this when we went to break. Those 24 can't compete for a national championship.
That's why I think there just needs to be 6. I think
you don't think those 24?
No. Not year in, year out.
I think you need to keep the current system and do
since
6.
the playoff began, 1, 2, 3, 4, Texas, and they've all won national championships. I'm looking down, except for Michigan. It's been a long time for Michigan.
But in the playoff era, it hasn't been. That's been.
How many teams? I'm trying to think. How many teams in these 24 have been in the playoff?
And in the playoff,
Utah, Texas Christian. Go ahead.
In the playoff, you've got even more opportunities because it became 4 were eligible instead of just 2. Going back to the old way, BCS. And then before you even had the BCS, it was a vote. It was a beauty contest for the AP.
Yeah.
And you could have split national champions based on the coaches poll and the AP poll.
I'm just saying that you can do 6.
10.
And it makes sense.
10 of these schools in the top 24
Yeah,
have made
it right.
Have made the playoff.
And how many have won it?
But if you look at schools that have been
history-wise,
historically, they've all won national championships, I think, with the exception probably of Utah and Texas Christian.
Yep. No, did TCU not win, not in the local time, but did they not win something back in either the 60s or 70s when, and it made, and I'm thinking out loud, but I'm going back to an old NFL book that I had that had some history with players, and it was Bradshaw TCU guy?
No, Louisiana Tech.
Louisiana Tech. So somebody from TCU.
They won a national championship in 1938.
Okay, well then that was NFL. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
I was thinking maybe it's in the 60s or 70s, but I had this old NFL book that I had when I was a kid that was published in 1977 that had a lot of history and facts about players and stuff like that. And when you're a little kid, your dad wants you to read. You don't want to read stuff. You want to read cool stuff.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
They actually competed for a national championship twice under the same head coach in 35 and 38, a coach named Dutch Meyer. Wow. They won, let's see, they lost to LSU
3-2.
And
right?
Yep. Yeah, in 5 innings. And they won, they beat Carnegie Tech in the Sugar Bowl in 38, 15-7.
That's Carnegie Mellon now.
Carnegie Mellon
in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
The alma mater of David Tepper.
Wow.
Oh, that means a lot to me.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Yeah.
Wow, how about that?
Yep. I'm
Speaking of which, Panthers quarterback next year, who's it going to be?
Jim Harbaugh.
No, quarterback.
Yeah, he's going to come out of retirement.
Well,
Sammy Baugh years.
According to Will Kunkel, right? Will Kunkel said an informed source, and I think I put it on Twitter. What other kind of source is there? An uninformed source?
There's a lot of that these days. Yeah,
especially on Twitter.
You may tell you the best name that I heard as a possible candidate.
Sure.
And I like Steve Wilkes. I just don't think he's going to get it.
Yeah.
The best name I heard is Frank Reich.
God.
Yeah. Threw the first touchdown pass in Panthers history.
Steve Wilkes, man.
Offensive mind.
How about the offensive coordinator for the Lions, who's a North Carolina guy from Asheville? I think his last name's Johnson. He's the one that helped Jared Goff this year for the Lions. Lions got the second or third best offense.
It's not Brad Johnson, is it?
No. Ben Johnson.
He's not coaching Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson.
Yeah, I don't.
Asheville native, I believe. Young guy. He's 35, 36
years old. Oh, wow,
that's
cool. That's cool.
I'm
when he played at Reynolds?
AC
Reynolds. Seems like I remember that name.
Maybe.
35.
I saw an article yesterday, and I think it was when I was reading this about Harbaugh. Top 5 candidates. And there were some – that's where I saw the thing.
I'd like to see him there.
Sean Payton.
I'd love to see that.
Sean Payton was not on the list.
Love to see that.
How about the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia?
Oh,
this was two
for the Eagles.
offensive –
I mean, the kind of offense they've had this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, would they bring Ron Rivera back?
Golly,
No. I don't. I think they're going to get away from. I don't think Wilkes is going to get it.
Do you not?
I don't either.
Golly. Man, I like that guy. I think Derek
is-
Carr's going to be the quarterback, though.
Who?
Derek Carr. I think he's going to be the quarterback.
Yeah.
like
Steve.
PJ.
I'm sorry. Shane Stinchen. He's the Eagles offense coordinator.
Okay. Yeah.
37. Matt Kafka. He's the offense coordinator with the Giants.
Probably not.
Ben Johnson.
D'Amico Ryans.
Defensive guy. If
From
you're gonna
49ers. You might as well keep Wilkes.
You're right.
Sean Payton. I don't see Sean Payton at all.
I got to tell you, I like Harbaugh, and I like Steve Wilkes. Like if that would be the guy. He bring like the whole Panthers situation feels, and obviously is so much better with him at the helm.
Yeah, it seems like it's
yes
stable.
It it not only is better, it feels that way. And we're such a feely, touchy society.
No.
Oh, when this, my, you're in my, all this.
I've had this belief.
He's done a great job of that, man.
Keeping things together.
Yes. And the fans engaged. Like, I've actually re-engaged with the Panthers because he got rid of the chaos.
Yeah. You kind of wonder, this is a topic for another show, is Charlotte a sports city that's jinxed?
That's a great question.
I don't think so.
I still think it's sports city.
From ownerships
to
tragedy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Playoff failures.
Super Bowl mishaps.
Yeah.
Golly,
but is it not more? Does that not go back to ownership and decision making?
Part of it is.
They're going to do two things to get out of what Juju's talking about. Number one, they're going to have to bring hockey here, which they probably won't. And number two, they're going to have to bring a Major League Baseball team in.
Well, it's not a pro sport team right now.
And going to Fort Mill. The talk is that the move in a new stadium is 5 to 7 years out. Okay, and now I don't have any proof. I'm just saying the talk. I have no proof of that or whatever. But that the Panther Stadium will be turned into a soccer facility.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
full time.
Ben Johnson is at Detroit.
Yeah,
he was a walk-on at Carolina.
Okay,
quarterback.
Is he from AC Reynolds? Is from Asheville? Where he played AC Reynolds High School?
I didn't go do all the research.
Well, that's my job. God, I'm so slack.
No, I'm just saying. It seems like I remember the name because 15 years ago I was in that area, and living up there, and it just seems like I remember that name now that it's been said. I can't place it. I don't know if it'd be from like Owen or like Black Mountain or
He's from Charleston.
Charleston what?
Charleston, South Carolina.
He's from Asheville, I thought. Maybe he moved to Asheville.
Maybe okay, I'm getting there.
Don't go anywhere. I'll know right here in a second.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Played 4 seasons at Carolina. Graduated in 2008.
Okay.
That's not the – and that's from his Detroit Lions
bio.
Okay. Yeah, but it doesn't say –
where he's from Asheville.
Let me get Wiki. Wiki knows everything. AC Reynolds. Yes, sir. AC Reynolds.
Born and raised in Charleston. Born in Charleston.
Yep. AC Reynolds.
Okay, you're right.
Was a walk-on.
I'm getting ready to ask Brian Craig right now, who has been up there for 100 years.
He
coaching.
has.
He's a year older than me.
Good LR guy.
God, great guy. Let me tell you something. We played Reynolds when I was at East Burke. We played them second round of the playoffs. Played Tuscola first round. We weren't in the same conference. They were in that 3A 40 league up in the mountains, and they ran either the box or the single wing.
They ran the box.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So they would stand up there, and Brian was a signal caller. He was in the backfield. All right, he's a quarterback, but, he threw the ball, but he was back there. And he'd say, set, ready, shift. And they'd hop over to, set, ready, let's go now. And they'd hike that ball, and people be going everywhere, spinning around, and 2 guys come pulling around.
Yeah.
And they said, 4, get in there at corner. Now, I'm 6'2 and a half, about 160 pounds soaking wet. And those 2 offensive linemen from Reynolds that were a guard and tackle, they pulled the backside line, were coming out, they down, kick. Oh, my God. Those dudes came running at me, and I thought, I am going to die. And you know what? I did. I did. And what's even more amazing is so I got to know Brian through, a little bit through that because they just mauled us. They killed like 35-7. They killed us. Great team. So we ended up playing them in the spring in baseball in the second round. So we're up there, and Brian's a good pitcher. And I also had a guy named Rico something that was a really good player. I think he ended up getting drafted. Brian was a great player. He pitched, and I think maybe played first or center field or shortstop or something. But he was a very good pitcher. And I hit third. And I think it was an 0-0 game like in the second or third. I think it was my second at bat up there. And he threw me a 0-1 hanging curveball. And I hit that thing to the moon. So the next time we went up like 1-0 or whatever. Next time I come up, I thought, yep, he's coming fastball the way.
Yeah.
He pumped me 3 straight fastballs. I didn't see a one of them. Sit down, strike 3, get out of here, And we go into the bottom of the 7th inning. We got 2 outs on them. The guy named Rico's at the plate. Our guy throws a hanging curveball to him, the guy on second. They beat us 2-1 with 2 outs and 2 strikes on the batter.
Wow.
Put us out of the playoffs. But that's how – my point is that the relationships through playing, as you guys know, go back, and then you end up knowing these guys. Now, I never played against Brian again, right? I went down east. He stayed at LR. But he ended up doing the student teaching and coaching at East Burke, I believe, for a little while. And then he went back to AC Reynolds. So I knew – I've known him. And then when I went to coach at Irwin, I was a baseball coach up there and coached football. He did the same thing at Reynolds. Mm-hmm. And so I've known this guy, and he's been one of my dear friends for a long time.
And he's just retired, right? Or he's just
he
athletic
did.
director.
He did retire, but he's still got – I think his daughter's still in school, like she's going to graduate. And he is back coaching full-time and may be a contracted AD to some point. I'm texting with him now, so I'll find out all that. But he is a great sports guy for that, information guy, especially for that part of the state.
Mm-hmm. Let me give you 2 more names. I forgot about these. Those were 2 names I was looking for, Richie. Kellen Moore,
Dallas
Cowboys offensive coordinator. Here's the guy that may be the guy. He's got a history with the Panthers. Ken Dorsey.
Ooh.
He's offense coordinator at Buffalo Bills.
You know what I want? I want a head coach. That's what I want. And Steve Wilkes is a head coach. He may be a defense guy, but he is a head coach because he's a manager. And I want an offense coordinator to run the offense and a defense coordinator to run the defense. I like a head coach in the NFL.
Can I tell you a secret? I'm going to tell you a secret. Okay. Defensive coordinators are really reluctant to let offensive coordinators be offensive coordinators. Defense coordinators that become head coaches because they want to play a more conservative game.
And why is that bad?
Well, it's not the way the rules are skewed now. I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, I like the philosophy. To it. But like other things, like my boy Dabo, I hadn't seen Andrew on here this morning, like my boy Dabo, if you've got rules – you need to take full advantage of those rules. Whether you like those rules or you don't like those rules, you need to take advantage because everybody else is taking advantage of it, whether it's NIL, whether it's transfer portal, whatever it is. So if the rules from a football team's perspective are skewed, that you can press a little harder offensively because you're more than likely to get a call than being conservative. I mean,
when John
Fox was at the Panthers, it was – all right, we're going to get the opening kickoff. We're going to go on a 9-minute drive.
Okay.
We're going to kick a field goal, and then we're going to play defense for the next 3.5 quarters.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying, like, maybe
I don't want the offense out there because I
Jinx.
can't trust them. Because that's
26 years. They've been in 2 Super Bowls, both by head coaches who were defensive-minded.
Who?
Panthers.
That's exactly right. That's
both
exactly right.
defensive-minded coaches.
Not in the modern era.
Yeah.
And this year they've had the lowest scoring in the NFL in 20 years.
Yep.
Yes.
So maybe the pendulum is swinging back.
It's got to because the process is about managing.
The injuries are the thing that's making
that could contribute to it. But the process of things, the process never lies. And what happens is you can try to skew it and bring in all this dynamic stuff. How's that working out for Arizona? Okay, the process is built on your favorite word, consistency, credibility, determination, discipline, and focus. Okay? Those things aren't done when you're like, well, I like this call. Let's run this play. Or I like this. Let's do that. Yeah, that's good. Let's do that. Instead of having a process in place.
I don't think there are as many elite quarterbacks as there used to be.
They're not allowed to be, Juju.
They're not.
You're right.
They're falling in love with the running quarterbacks and the mobile quarterbacks, and they don't have the development.
The exception to the rule, okay, to your point, and I think it's because of his philosophy, is Buffalo. Because I think McDermott lets his coordinator run the offense.
Who did McDermott study under?
Jim Johnson.
Who else?
Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he basically was a Jim Johnson.
No, I'm not. No.
At the Eagles.
They both were.
All right. Who else does he model a lot of things as an adversary?
I don't know.
In his division.
Belichick.
Absolutely. The standard has been set. The process works.
It's funny that McDermott is considered a defensive-minded coach.
Oh. Go ahead, keep going.
And he was, I believe,
who?
McDermott.
McDermott.
He was a defensive back at William and Mary.
Mm-hmm.
His teammate, Mike Tomlin, considered a defensive coach.
That's right.
Was a wide receiver.
That's right.
They were teammates.
But this is my thing with that. I've got a thought on that too. Like, if you are one side of the ball and that's what you study, then actually you're not studying your side of the ball, you're studying the other side. So, like, when I've been a head coach in high school football, an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams, right? Offensively is what I did for years. But what that allowed me to do is understand more about the defensive side of the game. So when I was asked to come on and do this and coach it, it was, it comes from an offensive understanding. And you see what I'm saying? There's a process to the whole thing. And I just, I don't – Sean McVay is really good. Okay, he's a good guy. But he has nothing else to prove. He needs to go to the front office because he's already won his Super Bowl.
Maybe he wants to win another.
Well, and he does, but they've talked about that, in the past, like last year when they did win it. Or do you have enough to win another?
Yeah.
The answer was that team was built for 1 year. Now it's going to take him 5 to rebuild it minimum.
You know who was the starting
I think
quarterback?
those days are over.
What?
The dynasty days, the Patriot days.
Well, it'll navigate to another team. It could very easily be the Eagles. It could be the Bills. It will navigate.
Too much player movement because they're not as committed as the players were on the Patriots.
No, I don't disagree with that, but I think that is all indicative of who the head coach is. That's why, a lot of times charter schools will work really well because of the structure inside and almost a zero tolerance for anything that the things that maybe you have to do in a public school or be wary of. You maybe don't have to be as close.
Because you don't have to tolerate it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So there's a way, like you can have a great group of players, and you can have a really bad head coach who's going to be nothing but chaos. But then you can have a great group of players and then have a really good head coach that's more of a manager than just offense or defense or whatever sport it is, and may not be that good at offense or defense, but because of the management style and the organization, it allows the players to thrive within the system. There is so much, that can be learned from, Belichick, Lombardi, Saban, Noel, Tomlin to a degree. Shula. We can go on and on, but the point is –
Walsh.
Even more so.
What's the common denominator?
Consistency and discipline and those things that I named, the attributes.
The common denominator
Man
to me
under center.
Ronnie said way too much free agency dollars to have a team that lasts for years. And that's true. That's what I'm talking about, player movement. Go back and look. Your top coaches, and I can't none come to mind right now. Your top successful coaches were not great athletes. Bart Starr never succeeded as a head coach. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're players that were not as concerned with being that top athlete as they were to studying. Your backup quarterbacks make some of your best.
That's right. Do you know why, though? I have a former
Joe and
teammate.
Frank Reich are good examples.
I have a former teammate at East Carolina that was a professional baseball player. Like, he played in the majors for years. And I asked him, and I said, what is it about coaching
Except
with people, with people at that level? And he said, it's so hard to accept. This is what the guy told me. He said, it's so hard to accept that not everybody has the desire to be the very best they can be at what they're doing.
That's
no matter
why Peyton could never be a head coach.
And number two, I get so frustrated because they don't want to be. I can't think clearly.
That's correct.
And then I just have to walk away because I don't want to deal with it. It takes too much energy.
How do you explain Deion?
I explain it to him.
He's the outlier, maybe?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's always exceptions to the rule. And I think Deion, the
Eddie
thing,
George.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, a great example, too. Look at Mike Minter down at Campbell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. But I think what you've got is a different mindset, of somebody that is not just playing the game, but lives the game itself from multiple levels, where pro athletes, for the most part, are just focused on performance, and they, and then they have to have people help them with adhering to a process.
Let me ask you this,
and that's not the case with Deion, because he could do so many things.
You listed those three things. You list those three people. Okay, to me, why I think they're successful and this goes back. This is a whole nother show too. This goes back to the athlete being able to come to terms that their career is over.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share and try to make somebody else as good as I was. And that's
give back. The give back.
That's right.
I got you.
And that's what Mentor has done. That's what Dion, Eddie George, these guys, they're able to do it because, you know, I'm sure there's still quite a few players out there that are retired that still thinks I'm as good as that guy on whatever team.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years down the road.
Yeah.
That's why Terrell keeps trying to come back.
You know, so when you can't come to terms with who you are and where you are now,
right,
it's hard for you to be able to move on and do something for somebody else. And the biggest thing with Dion is completely comfortable with who he was and what he accomplished.
Right.
And, you know, I don't think you can replace me, but if you do, that's okay.
Yeah,
you didn't do it when I did it.
That's right. And he can and the thing about it is he knows he can walk away from it at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So his intentions, based on what I've observed, are 100% for the kid.
Yeah.
You know, it's like locally. When you have people that volunteer at your local school and they give hours and hours and hours of their precious time, but also their energy and focus, you know, they're doing it for
as long as they're doing it for the right reason.
Well, but
because that don't always happen.
No,
too.
It doesn't, because there's always an underlying reason why I want this, I want that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, when you start those things with kids at a young age, you keep going through, and then you know, it happens in many communities. You know, this is how sports survive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's basically through people that aren't compensated.
Mm-hmm.
Which the compensation schedule is not near. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Even
but
if you get a check, you're not compensated.
No, and that's not. The compensation doesn't come from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, it's kind of like radio.
That's right. It comes from a deepening of
I made more money
relationships.
mowing grass than I did as head coach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what
I
you
did.
do.
I mean, I
Right.
did. Yeah.
Right.
Just part of your
But
supplement.
it's the
that you
meaningful
made more.
deepening of
Yeah.
relationships that you have
Yeah.
with your players and with their families, maybe your brother's sister
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't able to play or didn't play, that you know
Mm-hmm.
and that you see and maybe go to church with, or you see on occasion, like with festivals and things that we have. That's the importance of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where Dion is taking this thing, and because now he's on a national level.
Well, and that's why some of these guys, I think, are pissed at him because they can't do it. They can't remove that part of their personality
they
to
hate
get
the player
successful.
instead of the game.
They get to get successful.
Well, they got to
like
blame
Dion.
it somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, if they're not able to do it,
Hey, if
they're
you
gonna
can't do it on
displace
that guy looking at you in the mirror,
It's
you
the
got
same
problems.
thing. It's displaced anger.
You got problems.
Here's somebody, you know, coming in being mad at their wife, and then you're moving the dog out of the way or something. That dog didn't do anything.
That's right.
You know, basically what that is just
Can I
being
move my way
sorry.
if he crapped in the floor?
It's being so. Well, I mean, that's if you didn't teach him, whose fault is it?
Okay. I taught him, but he just don't like to go out when it's raining.
Well, I get that too.
Okay, we got to go. I got a job to do. Have a great day. We'll probably see you tomorrow somewhere. Have a good one.